If you see a floating body, run in the opposite direction or take shelter. What in the fuck? I ask myself as I scratch my head. Did I read this sign correctly? If you see a floating body... What do you mean floating? Floating like in space? What the... Run the opposite direction or take shelter. Why? I ask myself. The signs are everywhere. One sign on every tree. The signs are well made too, like metal road signs with printed digital texts. I'm starting to hyperventilate and get freaked out by these weird signs. It's 5 p.m., almost night, and I'm still lost. I was driving on a distant province to visit a long relative and got lost. I drove for 4 hours, away from civilization. I entered a couple of long dark tunnels. I took turns on roads with dense trees at the side, some concrete and some dirt road, only to realize that I've been reading my map wrong this whole time. I got lost and attempted to backtrack, only to stop at a weird part of the woods with a bunch of weird red metal signs with a weird white text. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. I attempted to calm myself as I look at the sign. The sky is turning blue and the night is coming, but it's been an hour of driving alongside trees since I last passed by a fellow car. I fear that I might have to spend the night driving the road at dense trees alone. Another weird note that I noticed is that the signs only exist on one side of the road. They weren't placed on any trees at the other side, only at this side. The trees plastered with signs continued up on a hill. My curious mind followed the hill. I climbed the peak whilst passing by multiple trees with the sign pinned on them. Now at the peak of the hill, my tense heart was calmed by a beautiful sight. It was a small town below, with a bunch of people beneath. The town seems to be lively and active, full of life and activities. People drinking on bars, children playing on a playground, and people chatting all over outside. The town may have been covered with trees and mountain, but nonetheless. It was somewhere to spend the night and ask for directions. Fucking finally, civilization! I yelled. My eyes followed the road that will lead me towards the town. It was only a few more minutes of drive. I just need to enter the green rock tunnel and I'll reach them soon. I got so lost that I didn't even notice that I went up a mountain, and now I'm overlooking a beautiful town from above. But what the heck are these signs? They're also everywhere around the town. A high-pitched tornado siren immediately whirs all over the town. Red lights suddenly covered the streets as the siren rumbled very loud. It made me duck and cover my ears. I looked down below and saw panicking. People that were drinking at the outside tables of a restaurant immediately ran inside. The children playing at the playground ran for the sewers, along with some adults, taking cover at the nearest possible area. I saw everybody make haste to take shelter, taking cover on houses that weren't theirs or places that they shouldn't be. What the fuck was that? Is there a tornado? The town emptied in streets in a mere minute. Items all over the ground, drinks and food being left at the table, windows and doors being closed, and curtains all shut. It was a horrifying sight to be viewed from above. The peace that I saw below were immediately turned in a desperate run for cover. I hugged a tree and ducked beneath it in fear of whatever it is they ran from. I scanned the area and saw no tornadoes, but instead I noticed something very weird. What the fuck was that? I saw a tree at the town. It was getting pulled off the concrete pavement, its roots coming along with it, getting pulled upwards towards the air. What in the... Then I saw bodies, at least tens of them. I saw people from different areas, some from the forest, some from the road, and some from the town. They emerged and became noticeable as they flowed upwards like a balloon, slowly ascending to the air. I saw some animals too, tens of them as well, floating upwards. It was a weird sight to see. Floating people, animals, and trees as if gravity stopped working for those beings. The sight immediately changed from weird to very violent all of a sudden. I noticed that the trunk and the branches of the trees are getting twisted and turned violently, as if some force is bending them, breaking them, and curving them as they levitate. The bodies of the animals and people then started twisting and bending violently in ways they shouldn't. Limbs being distorted, joints being twisted, waists being bent the wrong way, backwards, and some heads being turned like a bottle cap. I hear them scream in pain and agony as their bones get contorted the wrong ways. The screams and cracking of bones goes along with the siren, making a choir of horrifying music. It was my cue to run. I ran down the hill towards my car. I panicked to get my keys and drove as fast as I could. I drove towards the town and made it to the Green Rock Tunnel. This tunnel leads straight to that town. I drove through the tunnel with my car, ignoring the speed limit. But when I'm midway on traversing the tunnel, a surge of strong wind, like an explosion. It killed the engine of my car and all the lights on the tunnel. My car came to a halt and suddenly went dark. The only light at the end of the tunnel is what I can see. I rolled up my windows and locked my doors, an attempt to shelter me from whatever is going on outside. It was quiet, still, and dark. The only thing I can hear is the violent beating of my heart and the siren still going on. What the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck? I tried breathing slowly, not just to calm my heart, but to attempt to conceal myself. Conceal? From what? I feel like I should do so, that I should breathe as little as possible. I don't know why, but my instinct tells me to. Rain. It started raining outside. I squinted my eyes at the end of the tunnel and saw the rain. It was red. The blue light at the end of the tunnel were showing me red droplets of rain, along with some splinter of wood showering the road at the other end. Chills ran down my spine, and my body felt extremely cold. Not because of the weird rain out of nowhere, but because of what I sensed. I sensed something behind the car, behind the tunnel. I stopped breathing in an attempt to conceal myself. I peeked at my side mirror to see what's behind the tunnel, to take a peek on what presence I felt. There I saw red eyes glowing from the distance. They were at the tunnel, and it's slowly approaching my direction. My blood ran cold with terror, and I covered my face with my hands. I didn't wish to see what was coming, and I'm too afraid to breathe. I wanted to hide. I sneaked some small inhale and exhale from here and there, but I tried breathing as little as possible. I was frozen in fear. The quiet was interrupted when all of a sudden my car immediately started again, and the engine growls loud. It made me scream and jump from my seat. I opened my eyes and looked around. I see the tunnel light back on again, my car also running again. I peeked at the mirrors and saw nothing. Is it over? I drove slowly until I reached the outside of the tunnel. The rain had stopped, but I saw that the road is wet. Wet with thick red blood and full of wooden splinters. I drove to the town and saw the people coming out of their covers. Children crying and people panicking. I drove slowly along the road until someone wove their hands in front of my car in an attempt to stop me. He screamed at me and said, Hey, you there at the car. Who the fuck are you? You weren't from here. Did you just drive by recently? He screamed. I stopped my car and talked from the car window. Yes, I came from the tunnel. What the fuck just happened? Where the fuck am I? Really? You just came by. Did you see it happen? He replied with panting voice. Yes, I saw whatever the fuck just happened. I also saw whatever the fuck those are in the tunnels, I replied. They're at the fucking tunnels? Sound the fucking alarm, everyone back at their houses. And that was If You See a Floating Body, Run in the Opposite Direction or Take Shelter by Javirdin024. So, as you can probably imagine, there's quite a level of rough translation, but, you know, that should be forgiven because the story, the concepts about this, they're really good, they're really fun. I think it's crazy because I still don't fully understand what's going on, but I think that's yet again one of those like awesome fear of the unknown kind of things where you get to kind of see and experience, you get to maybe have a level of comprehension, but you don't know fully what's going on. But I mean, it's terrifying, and the fact that, you know, they've clearly put up all these crazy signs, and you know, it's quite clear this has become a routine to them. You know, it's like horrifying. This has been happening long enough that I'm not going to say they're used to it, but they've had to at least deal with it. You know what I mean? And they don't know any other way to deal with it besides just, you know, doing the best to protect themselves. It's really good. I mean, the title alone brought me to it, and I'm so glad I got to read it for you guys. It's, oh man, really, really crazy story. I've really enjoyed it. I hope you did too. We'll see you for whatever's next. Take care.